While cleaning our family minivan, I found women's underwear under the seat and soaked the leather of the back seats with nettle extract. And when my naked husband and his mistress jumped out of the car and straight into the city fountain, passers-by turned on their cameras. It was just an ordinary Saturday. George had gone off to an important business meeting. The kids were staying with my mother, and I decided to finally clean up our minivan. Honestly, the car had been in dire need of a deep clean for ages. 2 kids and a perpetually rushed husband had turned it into a moving landfill. I dug out candy wrappers, forgotten school notebooks, stray socks, and all sorts of trash. Then I got to the back seats where I noticed a piece of fabric stuck between the cushions. When I pulled it out, I froze. Black lace thong panties. Not mine. After 12 years of marriage to George, I had learned to recognize the signs. Late nights at the office, odd phone calls at strange hours. But I always came up with excuses for his behavior. Work stress, a promotion, demanding clients. Even when my gut screamed that he was cheating, I plugged my ears. Because we were the perfect family. George, me, and our kids, Michael and Emma. But this was too obvious. I sat down right there on the driveway, clutching the underwear in my hand, and let the reality crash over me. Then I grabbed my phone and called my best friend, Sarah. "Liz?" she answered on the first ring. "What happened?" "I found women's underwear in our car," I said, surprised at how calm my voice sounded. There was a pause, then Sarah sighed. "Oh, Liz, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry. Just tell me what to do." I expected her to tell me to file for divorce, confront George, or at least make a scene. But her suggestion surprised me. "What if you give him a lesson he'll never forget?" she said, her voice carrying a sharpness I hadn't heard before. "What kind of lesson? Remember my divorce from David? When I caught him with his secretary?" Of course, I remembered. Sarah had changed a lot after that, becoming tougher, harder. "There's this remedy," she went on. "Nettle extract. You can mix it into body lotion or—" She paused. "Apply it to car upholstery, especially if your husband likes to have fun in the back seat." "Sarah," I gasped, shocked by the suggestion. "What? He deserves it, doesn't he?" she replied coolly. "You can keep playing the perfect wife, or you can teach him a lesson he'll never forget." I had never been a vengeful person. I usually avoided conflict, preferring peace in the family. But now, with this proof of George's betrayal in my hand, I felt a fire of anger ignite inside me. "Where can I get this extract?" I asked, surprising myself with my decision. "Any pharmacy," Sarah replied. "Just wear gloves when you apply it." After the call, I sat in the car thinking. Part of me wanted to do the right thing, talk to George, get the truth, but another part of me demanded action. I drove to the pharmacy. Buying the nettle extract turned out to be ridiculously easy. The elderly pharmacist didn't even look up when I asked for the most concentrated form. "For arthritis?" he asked absent-mindedly. "Yes, for my husband," I said, feeling like a character in a spy film. Back home, I put on rubber gloves and got to work. Carefully, I spread the extract over the leather of the back seat, trying to keep the layer thin and invisible. When I finished, I wiped my hands and tossed the gloves in the trash. The next few hours passed in a strange haze. I cooked dinner, helped Emma with her homework over the phone, watched TV, everything as usual, as though I hadn't just coated our family car in stinging extract. George called around 6. "Hi, honey. The meeting's running late. Don't wait up." "Of course," I replied calmly. "Good luck with work." I went to bed early, but sleep wouldn't come. My head swirled with thoughts of what I had done and what would come next. Divorce? Family therapy? Or would I just swallow the betrayal and go on pretending? The sound of my phone broke through my thoughts. It was almost 11, and I wasn't expecting any messages. Opening it, I saw a link from an acquaintance. "I think you should see this." I tapped it. A Facebook video opened. It was shot on a passerby's phone. It was already dark, but clear enough. My husband and some woman, naked, running toward a fountain. Not far behind them stood our minivan, the back door wide open. My husband and his mistress were desperately scratching their skin. I recognized George immediately. But the woman... She was in profile, and the light fell in such a way that most of her face was hidden in shadow and by her own hair, and on top of that, it was dusk. Still, something about her seemed vaguely familiar. For a moment, I had the unsettling feeling that I knew her. George and the woman, naked and clearly suffering, made it to the fountain and leapt in, provoking an outburst of laughter from the onlookers. People around them pulled out their phones, filming the scene. Someone shouted, "Hey, hot stuff, the water's turned off." And indeed, the fountain was dry. No water, just a hard stone basin that they crashed against. I watched the video again and again, overcome by a strange mix of emotions. Satisfaction from my revenge, bitterness from the confirmation of betrayal, shock at George's public humiliation, and indirectly, mine and the children's. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. George stood on the porch, his skin covered with red blotches. "Elizabeth," he began, but I didn't let him finish. "Get out," I said, surprised by the icy calm in my voice. "Listen, I can explain. Your things will be in garbage bags on the porch tomorrow morning. Don't call me. Don't come here. If you want to see the kids, talk to my lawyer." "What lawyer?" "Liz, are you insane? Do you realize what you've done? I could have gotten serious burns." "Do you realize what you've done?" I shot back. 12 years of marriage, George. 12 years, and you cheat on me in our family car." He opened his mouth, then closed it again, at a loss for words. "How could you do this? I could have been badly burned." "How could you?" I raised my voice. "Get out! Right now." I slammed the door in his face, then leaned against it, my whole body trembling. Slowly, I slid down to the floor and broke into sobs. The morning greeted me with a pounding headache and swollen eyes. I packed George's belongings into garbage bags, just as I had promised, and left them on the porch. Then I called my mother and asked if she could keep the kids for a few more days while I sorted out some unexpected problems. She didn't ask questions, and I was grateful for that. Afterward, I sat down at the computer and began searching for a divorce lawyer. A call from Sarah interrupted my search. "How are you?" she asked without preamble. "Alive," I answered. "I threw George out last night." "I saw the video," Sarah said, with a trace of satisfaction in her voice. "The whole town saw it. Your husband and his mistress are internet stars now. It's everywhere. Someone posted it in the local Facebook group, and it went viral. Oh, God," I groaned. "What will the kids think?" "They're teenagers, Liz. They're not stupid. They probably suspected something long ago." "You're not helping," I snapped. "Sorry," Sarah sighed. "Listen, want me to come over? We could drink some wine, curse all men." "No thanks," I said. "I need to be alone." After hanging up, I opened Facebook anyway. Sarah hadn't exaggerated. The video of George and his mistress was everywhere. People were sharing it, commenting, making memes. Some pitied me. Others condemned me for cruel revenge. And still others just laughed at the spectacle. I shut the laptop and decided to get some air. Maybe a walk would help clear my head. But when I stepped onto the driveway, I froze. A white note was stuck under my car's windshield wiper. I walked closer and read the neatly typed words, "This is only the beginning." My heart started racing. Who could have left that note? George? Unlikely. He wasn't the type to make threats. His mistress? Maybe. Perhaps she blamed me for her public humiliation, or one of the neighbors condemning me for my revenge. I looked around, but the street was empty. Taking the note, I went back inside and locked the door. Suddenly, my quiet living room felt eerie and unfamiliar. "Calm down, Elizabeth," I told myself. It's just a stupid threat. Nothing will happen. How wrong I was. The next day began with an unexpected visit. I had just made coffee when the doorbell rang. On the porch stood two people, a middle-aged woman holding a folder of documents and a younger man standing slightly behind her. "Mrs. Elizabeth Morgan?" the woman asked. "Yes, that's me." "My name is Lorraine Johnson. I'm with Child Protective Services. And this is my colleague, David Hart. May we come in?" My heart sank. Child Protective Services? Why were they here? "Of course," I said, stepping aside to let them in. "Has something happened?" They walked into the living room and sat on the couch. Lorraine opened her folder. "Mrs. Morgan, we received an anonymous report alleging possible neglect or mistreatment of your children." What? I couldn't believe my ears. There must be some mistake. I would never. "According to the statement," Lorraine continued, ignoring my protest, "you exhibit signs of emotional instability, a tendency toward violent behavior, and create an unsafe environment for your children. That's absurd." "Who filed such a report?" "Anonymous, as I said," Lorraine replied, studying me with a cold gaze. "However, we are aware of a recent incident involving your husband. The video has spread quite widely." I felt my face burn. Of course, they had seen the recording of George and his mistress. "That was a family matter," I said, forcing myself to speak calmly. "Yes, my husband and I have problems, but that has nothing to do with my children." "And where are your children now, Mrs. Morgan?" David asked, speaking for the first time. "They're with my mother. I wanted to protect them from all of this." "And your husband?" "We separated." "Temporarily," I added, unwilling to admit I had thrown him out. Lorraine made a note in her papers. "According to our information, you inflicted physical harm on your husband using some kind of chemical substance. Is that true?" I took a deep breath. "Listen, I found proof of my husband's affair in our car. Yes, I acted impulsively by using nettle extract. It was foolish, I admit it. But I have never and would never harm my children. Nevertheless, your actions demonstrate a capacity for violence," Lorraine remarked. "What if next time the target of your anger were your children?" "That's completely different," I cried, panic rising in my chest. "I love my children more than anything in the world." "Mrs. Morgan," Lorraine closed the folder, "we will need to conduct a full assessment of your situation. This includes interviews with your children, an inspection of your home, and a conversation with your husband. Until the investigation is complete, we recommend that the children remain with your mother or another suitable guardian." "You're taking my children away?" My voice trembled. "For now, it's a recommendation," Lorraine said. "But if you fail to cooperate or if we find additional concerns, we may initiate temporary removal of the children from your custody." The world seemed to collapse around me. All I had done was punish a cheating husband, and now I stood to lose my children. "I'll fully cooperate," I said, forcing calm into my voice. "What exactly do you need from me?" "To begin, we need to speak with your children and husband. We'll also conduct a home inspection and a psychological evaluation of you." "All right," I nodded. "When?" "We'll contact you in the coming days to schedule the meetings," Lorraine said, rising to her feet. "In the meantime, once again, it would be best if the children stayed with your mother." After they left, I collapsed onto the couch, feeling the adrenaline drain from my body. This couldn't be a coincidence. First the note on my car, now this. Someone was deliberately trying to destroy my life. I grabbed my phone and dialed George. I needed to know if he was behind this, but his phone was out of service. Then I called my mother to check on the kids. They were fine, but Michael had asked when he could come home. I lied, saying I needed to finish some renovations, and asked her to keep them a few more days. The whole day I was on edge, waiting for the next blow. It didn't take long to arrive. The morning began with a phone call. It was my colleague, Rachel. "Liz, what the hell is going on?" she asked without preamble. "What do you mean?" I had just woken up and could barely think straight. "You haven't checked your work email? God, check it right now." I grabbed my laptop and opened my inbox. Several new messages had come in, but one stood out. The sender, myself, subject line, my real life. I opened the email and gasped in horror. Inside were photographs. Me and my boss, Robert Stevens, in unmistakably compromising positions. The photographs looked realistic, but I knew for certain they were fake. I had never slept with Robert. Yes, he was an attractive man, but he was married, and unlike George, I had never cheated. "Rachel, that's not me," I breathed into the phone. "It's Photoshop or something like it." "I figured," she replied, "but it looks damn convincing, and it was sent from your address to everyone in the company, including Robert." "Oh God," I groaned. "This is a nightmare." Someone hacked my email. "Liz, you need to contact IT and HR immediately. Maybe they can stop it from spreading." The next few hours I spent trying to explain the situation to the company's security team and HR. Everyone was polite, but I could see the doubt in their eyes. Robert was on a business trip, and I couldn't reach him to coordinate our response. The IT department confirmed that the email had indeed been sent from my account, but they couldn't say for sure whether it had been hacked or someone had gained access to my password. They locked my account pending investigation. I came home utterly shattered. Someone was methodically dismantling my life. First the threat of losing my parental rights, now this. My career was in jeopardy. I had to act. I decided to go to the police. I gathered the evidence, the note from my car, the information about the fake photos, and was about to leave the house when the doorbell rang. Cautiously, I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. No one was there. When I opened the door, I saw a small box on the porch. My heart pounded wildly. Carefully, I picked it up and carried it inside. It was light, but something shifted inside when I moved it. Fighting my fear, I opened it. Inside was a gun. I recoiled as if the box contained a venomous snake. At that moment, my phone rang. Automatically, I glanced at the screen. It was my mother. I answered with a trembling voice. "Elizabeth, are you watching the news?" she asked, panic in her voice. "No, Mom, what happened?" "Turn on the TV right now." I rushed to the television and switched on the local news channel. Immediately, George's photograph filled the screen. Beneath it, the ticker read, "Local businessman found shot dead in motel. Police investigating homicide." The floor seemed to fall out from under me. I don't remember how I sank onto the couch, my eyes glued to the screen. A reporter stood outside a shabby roadside motel, recounting the events. "The body of 43-year-old George Morgan was discovered this morning by a maid in a room at the Pine View Motel. Preliminary findings indicate death from a gunshot wound. Police are investigating the case as a possible homicide. Sources close to the investigation report that Mr. Morgan recently became the subject of a scandalous video circulating on social media." My hands trembled as I reached for my phone again. I had to call. Who? The police would be here soon anyway, especially if they found the gun someone had planted at my door. The gun! I panicked, scanning the room. It still lay in the box on the table, an obvious piece of evidence against me. George was dead, the whole town knew about our scandal, and now the murder weapon was in my house. I was trapped. With shaking hands, I dialed the only person I could trust, my old friend Carol, who happened to be a lawyer. "Carol," I said as soon as she answered, "I need your help." "Professional help?" "What happened, Liz?" Worry laced her voice. "George is dead," I said, tears streaming down my face. "And I think someone's trying to frame me." There was a pause. Then Carol spoke, her tone deadly serious. "Liz, listen to me very carefully. Do not speak to anyone about this, especially the police, not until I get there. Are you home?" "Yes." "Stay there. I'll be there in 20 minutes. And Liz, don't touch anything. I glanced at the box with the gun. Too late for that. What do you mean? Someone left a gun at my door. I already opened the box. Damn, Carol muttered. All right, don't touch it again. I'm on my way. Carol arrived even faster than she'd promised. As soon as I opened the door, she came in and hugged me tightly. Hang on, my friend, she said. We'll get through this. I showed her the box with the gun, careful not to go near it. When did it appear? Carol asked, carefully inspecting the box without touching it. About an hour ago. I was about to go to the police to report all the strange things that have been happening the past few days when someone rang the doorbell. I opened it, and this box was on the porch. What other strange things? I told her about the note on my car, the visit from Child Protective Services, and the fake photographs sent from my work email. Someone is deliberately destroying my life, I concluded. And now George is dead, and I'm the prime suspect. Carol shook her head thoughtfully. This is too elaborate for ordinary revenge. Who could hate you or George enough to do this? I don't know, I admitted. George had business partners. Maybe something went wrong there. Or... I stopped, suddenly remembering the woman in the video. Something about her had seemed familiar. Or what? Carol prompted. The woman with George. She looked familiar, but I couldn't make out her face. Before Carol could respond, there was a loud, insistent knock at the door. Police! Open up! We exchanged a glance. Carol whispered, Don't say a word without me. I'm your attorney. I nodded and went to open the door. Two figures stood outside, a tall man in a suit and a woman in uniform. The man held up a badge. Detective Michael Reed, Portland Police. This is Officer Jenkins. May we come in? Of course, I said, stepping aside. This is my lawyer, Carol Brighton. Detective Reed raised an eyebrow slightly, but made no comment about her presence. Mrs. Morgan, I need to ask you a few questions about your husband. I know he's dead, I said, my voice trembling. I saw the news. When was the last time you saw your husband? 2 nights ago, in the evening, I threw him out of the house. Why? I glanced at Carol. She gave me the slightest nod. I discovered he was cheating on me. And how did you discover that? I told him about finding the underwear and about the video. Do you still have this video? The detective asked. Yes, on my phone. We'd like to see it. I showed them the video. The detective studied it closely, then asked, Do you recognize the woman in the video? No, I replied. I mean, she looked familiar, but I couldn't see her clearly. Mrs. Morgan, where were you today between midnight and 3 a.m.? At home. Sleeping. Can anyone confirm that? No, I was alone. The detective nodded, jotting notes in his pad. Mrs. Morgan, do you own any firearms? My throat tightened. The box with the gun still sat on the table, in plain view of the officers. No, I said. I mean, the detective pressed. Someone planted a gun at my house today, I admitted, pointing to the box. I don't know who or why. Detective Reed exchanged a look with Officer Jenkins. You're saying an unknown person delivered a firearm to your doorstep today? Yes, about an hour ago. I opened the door and the box was there. And you didn't see who left it? No. The detective walked over to the table and examined the box without touching it. Officer Jenkins, call for forensics, he said. Then he turned to me. Mrs. Morgan, I'm afraid you'll need to come down to the station with us for further questioning. She's not required to do that, Carol interjected. If you have questions, you can ask them here. We just found a firearm in her home that could have been used in a homicide, the detective replied coldly. We have grounds for detention. You can see for yourself the weapon was planted, Carol countered. My client voluntarily reported it to you. That is not the behavior of a killer. Nevertheless, we must conduct a formal interview. Mrs. Morgan, please come with us. I looked at Carol. She nodded. I'm coming with you. As we left the house, I noticed neighbors peeking out their windows. By tomorrow morning, the whole neighborhood would be certain I had murdered my husband. The police station was exactly as they show it in movies. Harsh fluorescent lights, a constant buzz of voices, the smell of coffee and disinfectant. They led me into an interrogation room, a small space with a plain table and 3 chairs. The walls were painted an unpleasant pale green. Carol never left my side. She was in full professional mode. Sharp suit, hair pulled into a bun, her expression warning there'd be no mercy for whoever stood against her. "Remember," she whispered as we waited for the detective, "answer only what's asked. Don't offer extra information. If you're unsure, say you don't know or don't remember." I nodded, feeling like I was trapped in a nightmare. Just a week ago, I'd been an ordinary woman with an ordinary life, work, kids, a home. Now I was in a police station, a suspect in my husband's murder. The door opened and Detective Reed entered, accompanied by a woman I hadn't seen before, heavy set with red hair and piercing eyes. "Mrs. Morgan, this is Detective Sandra Collins," Reed introduced. "She'll be joining us for this conversation." "Interrogation," Carol corrected him. "Let's call things by their proper name, Detective." Reed ignored her remark and sat across from me. "Mrs. Morgan, tell us about your relationship with your husband." I took a deep breath and began describing our 12 years of marriage, how we'd met in college, the birth of our children. I was completely honest about the problems that had started a few years ago, his late nights at work, strange phone calls, my growing suspicions. "When did you learn about the affair?" 3 days ago, when I found women's underwear in our car." "And how did you react?" I glanced at Carol. She gave a tiny shrug as if to say, "Your choice." "I soaked the backseat of the car with nettle extract," I admitted. Detective Collins couldn't hide her surprise. "You deliberately caused pain to your husband and his companion?" "Yes," I said. "I was angry. Very angry. Angry enough to kill him?" "Objection," Carol cut in. "That question presumes guilt." "I'll rephrase," Reed said calmly. "Mrs. Morgan, have you ever threatened your husband with physical harm?" "No, never. You never said things like, 'I'll kill you,' or 'you'd be better off dead.'" "No," I answered firmly. "I was upset and angry, but I never wished him dead." "Yet you did take action that caused him physical pain." "It was a stupid act," I admitted. "I'm not proud of it, but there's a vast difference between a stinging rash and a bullet." "Speaking of bullets," Detective Reed leaned forward, "forensics has made a preliminary confirmation. The gun found in your house is the same caliber as the murder weapon." My heart skipped a beat. "I've never seen that gun before," I said. "Someone planted it on me." "How convenient," Reed remarked dryly. "Detective," Carol interjected, "if my client had actually killed her husband, why would she keep the murder weapon in her home? And more importantly, why would she voluntarily point it out to you?" "People make mistakes," Reed shrugged, "especially inexperienced criminals." "My client is not a criminal," Carol snapped. "Do you have witnesses who placed her near the motel the night of the murder?" "The investigation is ongoing," Reed deflected. "In other words, no," Carol concluded. "You have nothing except motive and a weapon that was clearly planted to frame my client." "We have video," Detective Collins said suddenly. "What video?" I asked, panic rising. "Surveillance footage from the motel parking lot," Collins answered. "It shows a woman resembling you entering your husband's room around midnight." "That couldn't have been me," I exclaimed. "I was at home." "May we see the footage?" Carol asked. "In due course," Reed replied. "But for now, Mrs. Morgan, tell us about the strange incidents in recent days. You mentioned the note on your car and the child protection visit." I described the note. "This is only the beginning. The CPS visit and the fake photos sent from my work email." "Do you still have that note?" Reed asked. Yes, it's at home, in the desk drawer. We'd like to seize it for analysis. And your computer and phone. Is that necessary? I asked, thinking about losing access. If you want us to investigate a possible conspiracy against you, yes, Reed answered. Mrs. Morgan, do you have any idea who might want to harm you? I thought hard. Who could hate me enough to methodically wreck my life? Who would kill George? I don't know, I admitted honestly. I have no enemies. At least, that's what I thought. What about your husband's business partners? Reed asked. Did he have problems at work? George never discussed work with me, I replied. And his mistress? Do you know her? I shook my head. You couldn't see her face clearly in the video. The questioning went on for another hour. The detectives asked the same questions in different ways, clearly trying to catch me in a contradiction. But I was telling the truth, so there were no lies to remember. Finally, Reed leaned back in his chair. There were no fingerprints on the gun. None at all. The killer wiped them. That'll be enough for today, Mrs. Morgan. You're free to go, but do not leave town. We may call you in again at any time. You're arresting my client? Carol asked. Not at this time, Reed replied, but the investigation continues. When we left the station, it was late. Carol offered to drive me home. What do you think? I asked her in the car. Honestly, this looks like a very carefully staged frame-up. Somebody really wants you behind bars. But who? And why? I don't know, Carol said, but we'll find out. For now, you must be extremely careful. Don't talk about the case. Don't let strangers into the house. And maybe you should stay with your mother? No, I said firmly. I'm not going to hide. I don't want to drag my mother and the kids deeper into this than they already are. Carol nodded. Then at least let me stay with you tonight. I don't want you alone. I agreed, grateful for her support. But even with Carol there, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me, waiting for the next strike. Morning brought no relief. My photo was on the front page of the local paper under the headline, Businessman's Widow, Questioned in Murder Investigation. The article quoted a source close to the investigation who said I was being treated as the prime suspect. A leak from the police, Carol said grimly as she scanned the article. They're pressing you through the media. I only shook my head, too exhausted to be outraged. The last few days had drained me. What should I do, Carol? I asked, pouring coffee. I feel like everything is collapsing. First, we need to find out who's behind this, she answered. You must list everyone who might have a motive to hurt you or George. I've gone through everyone I know, I said. Nothing comes to mind. I don't have enemies. At least I didn't think I did. What about the woman in the video? You said she seemed familiar. I closed my eyes, trying to recall the fleeting glimpse of the woman bolting from the car. It was too dark, and she kept turning away from the camera. But something in the way she moved, the way she held her head. I don't know, Carol. It could have been anyone. Not anyone, Carol said thoughtfully. It was someone you know. Someone who knows you well enough to orchestrate this kind of elaborate revenge. I shuddered at the word revenge. But for what? What did I do to deserve this? Carol shrugged. Sometimes people avenge imagined wrongs, or something you don't even realize you've done. Our conversation was interrupted by the ringing of my phone. The number was unfamiliar. Hello? I answered cautiously. Mrs. Morgan, a male voice asked. This is Detective Reed. We found something interesting. Can you come to the station? I looked at Carol and repeated the question for her. We'll be there in 30 minutes, she said into the phone, taking it from me. On the way to the station, Carol coached me. Don't rise to their bait. They may try to trap you in contradictions or push you into admitting something you didn't do. Stick to your truth. You're innocent. I nodded, my stomach twisting with tension. At the station, Detective Reed met us. He didn't take us to the interrogation room, but to his office, a small space cluttered with folders, with family photos on his desk. "Mrs. Morgan," he began once we were seated, "we reviewed surveillance cameras around your house, and we found something interesting." He turned his computer screen toward us and played a video. It showed my house from across the street. A woman in dark clothes and a wide-brimmed hat, hiding her face, approached. She carried a box. The woman set it on my doorstep, rang the bell, and quickly walked away. "Do you recognize this woman?" Reed asked. I stared at the image. Something about her walk seemed familiar, but I couldn't see her face. "No," I said. "I can't make her out." "Now watch this," Reed said, opening another video. It was footage from the motel where George was killed. It showed a woman entering his room. She wore the same clothes and hat as the woman who left the box at my door. "It's the same woman," Reed said. "We checked the timestamps. She was at the motel first, then at your house." "But that wasn't me," I said. "I've never been to that motel." "We know," Reed said unexpectedly. "Experts analyzed her gait and build." "It's not you." A huge weight lifted from my shoulders. "Then, I'm no longer a suspect?" "Not the primary one," Reed clarified. "But we need your help to identify this woman." "I told you, I can't see her clearly." "It's more than that," Reed said. "We've uncovered something else." An almost identical murder happened 2 years ago in Seattle. A husband was shot in a motel after an affair scandal. The wife was the prime suspect, but later it turned out she'd been framed. "And what happened?" Carol asked. "The real killer was never caught," Reed replied. "But the widow took her own life. She couldn't withstand the pressure and the loss of her husband." I felt my blood turn to ice. "You think this is connected to my case?" I asked. "There are too many coincidences," Reed said. "Both cases started with an affair. Then, anonymous threats, planted weapons, fabricated evidence against the wife. Even the killer's signature was the same, one bullet to the heart." "And you think the same person committed both murders?" Carol asked. "That's our working theory," Reed nodded. "Mrs. Morgan, are you sure you can't remember anyone who might have had a motive to take revenge on you like this? Maybe someone from your past? An ex-boyfriend, a rival, an enemy?" I shook my head, but suddenly a shadow of a memory flickered through my mind, a vague image I couldn't quite grasp. "Wait," I said, straining my memory. "Maybe." But no, it was so long ago. And she couldn't possibly... "Who?" Reed pressed. "There was a girl in college, Vanessa Fisher." At first we were friends, but then we had a terrible falling out over a guy. She was unstable. She accused me of stealing her boyfriend, even though he was never interested in her. She threatened me, even tried to attack me once. After that incident, she was expelled, but that was 15 years ago. I don't even know where she is now. Reed quickly wrote down the name. "Do you have a picture of her? Or a description? Maybe in some old photo albums." She was tall, thin, dark-haired. Her gaze was very intense, a little frightening. But again, that was so long ago. I'm not sure it has anything to do with this. "We'll check," Reed said. "In the meantime, I strongly recommend you be extremely careful. If one person is behind this and he's already killed twice, he may not stop." A chill ran down my spine. "You think I'm in danger?" "We can't rule it out," Reed answered seriously. "I'll assign a patrol car to watch your house, but I also suggest you temporarily move somewhere safe." "To my mother's," I nodded. "The kids are already there." "Good idea," Reed agreed. "And Mrs. Morgan, if you remember anything else about Vanessa Fisher or anyone else who might have a motive to hurt you, contact me immediately." He handed me his card, and Carol and I left the station. "What do you think?" I asked Carol once we were in her car. "I think it sounds crazy, but it makes sense," she said. "If Vanessa never forgave you for what happened in college, If she's been carrying that grudge all these years, some people have very deep psychological wounds. Sometimes it turns into obsession, even revenge. But killing George? What would that accomplish? Maybe she wanted to hurt you by destroying your life. Killing your husband, framing you, that could be her way of taking everything from you, the way she thinks you took everything from her. I shuddered at the thought. I need to find old photos, I said. Maybe that'll help the police identify her. Let's go to your place, pack your things, and look for albums, Carol suggested. Then I'll drive you to your mom's. On the way home, I couldn't stop thinking about Vanessa. We'd been close friends in our freshman year, but everything changed. She fell for a guy who wasn't interested in her, but showed attention to me. I didn't encourage him, knowing how Vanessa felt, but she still accused me of betrayal. Things escalated when she began spreading rumors about me, and then, in a fit of rage, tried to attack me with scissors. She was expelled, and I never heard from her again. Could she have been plotting revenge all these years? It sounded insane, but I had no other explanation. At home, I went straight to the closet where I kept old photo albums. While Carol packed what I'd need, I flipped through yellowed pages, searching for pictures of Vanessa. Finally, in an album from freshman year, I found what I was looking for, a group photo of our student club. There I was, smiling and carefree, and next to me stood Vanessa, tall with long dark hair and piercing eyes. Even in the picture, there was something tense, unsettling about her expression. "Found her!" I called to Carol. She came over and looked at the photo. "That's her?" she asked, pointing at Vanessa. "Yes," I nodded. Carol studied the photo carefully. "There's something familiar about her face," she said thoughtfully, "though maybe it's just me." I carefully removed the photo from the album. "Let's take this to Detective Reed." When we stepped outside, I noticed a patrol car parked across the street. The officer inside nodded at me, and for the first time I felt a strange relief, like maybe the police were truly taking the threat seriously. We stopped at the station and left the photo for Detective Reed, who was out on a call. Then Carol drove me to my mother's. Mom met me at the door, worry written across her face. "Where are the kids?" I asked. "Michael's in his room. Emma went to the movies with a friend. I thought she needed a distraction. Call Emma right now and tell her to come home." "It's not safe anymore." My mother quickly dialed the number and ordered her granddaughter to come home immediately. "I need to talk to them." "Explain." "Even though I don't really understand what's happening myself," I said, and gave her a brief version of the situation, leaving out the most terrifying details. She was shocked, but remained strong. "You can stay here as long as you need," she said. "You're all safe under my roof." I hugged her, tears welling in my eyes, then went to see Michael. My 11-year-old son was sitting on the bed, staring into space. When I entered, he lifted his eyes to me, filled with pain and confusion. "Hi," I said softly, sitting down next to him. "Is Dad really dead?" he asked bluntly. "Yes," I answered, deciding not to hide the truth. "I'm so sorry, Michael." "He was killed?" "Yes." "And the police think you did it?" I flinched. News really did travel fast. "Some people thought that, but now the police have other suspects." Michael was silent for a moment, then asked, "Is it because of that video?" "Where he's with that woman." I closed my eyes. Of course he'd seen it. The whole town had. "Michael, adult relationships can be complicated. Your father, he made a mistake, and I made a mistake too when I tried to take revenge on him, but neither of us deserved what happened afterward." "Someone sent me a message," Michael said, looking me straight in the eye. "What message?" He picked up his phone and showed me a text from an unknown number. "Your mother killed your father. Soon everyone will know the truth." I felt the blood drain from my body. "When did you get this?" "Last night." "Michael, listen to me," I said, taking his hands. I did not kill your father. Someone is trying to frame me, and that same person sent you this message. You need to show it to the police." Michael nodded, but I could still see doubt in his eyes. I couldn't blame him. This was too much, too frightening for a 16-year-old boy to process. I hugged my son and promised I'd uncover the truth and protect our family, but deep down, I wasn't sure I could keep that promise. When I returned to the living room, I saw Carol on the phone. When she hung up, she turned to me with a serious look. That was Detective Reed. They ran Vanessa Fisher through the database. After she was expelled from college, she had a few minor run-ins with the law, then spent time in a psychiatric facility. After her release, she changed her name and dropped off the radar. But they've found her last known address and are checking it now. "That's good," I said, feeling a flicker of hope. "Maybe it really is her." "There's more," Carol continued. Reed dug deeper into the Seattle case. There, too, the story involved a former friend who accused the victim of stealing a man. The coincidence is too strong. "It has to be her," I said. Just now, Michael showed me a message someone sent him. It said, "I killed George." Carol paled. "This has gone too far. She's trying to turn your own children against you. But why? What does she want?" "To completely destroy your life," Carol said grimly. "If this is Vanessa, she may believe you ruined hers by stealing the man she loved. Now she wants you to lose everything: your husband, your children, your reputation, your freedom. It's a twisted, pathological kind of revenge." I shuddered at the thought, but it made a terrible kind of sense. "I need to show the police the message Michael got," I said. "I'll call Reed." Carol nodded. The detective arrived an hour later. He examined the message on Michael's phone. "We'll trace this number," he said. "In the meantime, I have news." We checked Vanessa Fisher's last known address. Neighbors confirmed that a woman matching her description did live there until recently, but she moved out about a month ago. No one knows where she went. "A month ago," I repeated. "Right when she could have started watching me and George." "Possibly," Reed agreed. "We also discovered that after changing her name, she became Mary Baker. Under that name, she worked at several companies, including one connected to your husband's business." "What?" I was stunned. "George knew her?" "We're still checking that connection," Reed said, "but it's entirely possible she deliberately got that job to be closer to your family." "Could she have been the woman in the video?" I asked, recalling those vaguely familiar features. "We're working on enhancing the footage," Reed replied. "If it's her, we'll confirm it." After the detective left, I couldn't calm myself. The thought that Vanessa had spent years planning revenge, weaving herself closer to my husband, seemed insane. But what other explanation was there? "What if she comes here?" I asked Carol. "What if she tries to get to the kids?" "There's a patrol car outside your mother's house," Carol reminded me. "And now that the police have serious grounds to suspect Vanessa, they'll find her quickly." I nodded, but fear clung to me. That night, I barely slept, listening for every creak, checking on the children every hour. In the morning, Carol left to change clothes and grab a few things, promising to return by lunchtime. I stayed with my mom and the kids, trying to maintain some sense of normalcy, though nothing about our lives was normal anymore. Around 11, Detective Reed called. "Mrs. Morgan, we've made a breakthrough," he said. "We enhanced the motel video, and our experts have identified the woman with high confidence as Vanessa Fisher, now known as Mary Baker. We've issued a warrant for her arrest and placed her on the wanted list." "That's good," I said, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. "Do you think you'll find her?" "We're doing everything we can," Reed replied, "but I must warn you, if she really is behind all this, she's dangerous and unpredictable. Don't open the door to strangers. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers, and above all, don't stay alone." "I understand," I said. "Thank you, Detective." After the call, I felt a strange kind of relief, At least now the nightmare I was trapped in had a name and a face. Vanessa Fisher, a woman I barely remembered from college, had turned my life into hell over an old grudge. I decided to tell my mother the whole truth. She deserved to know what kind of danger we might be in. "My God, Liz," she said when I finished, "that woman's a psychopath." "I know," I nodded. "But the police are looking for her." This will be over soon. I wanted so badly to believe my own words. The day passed in tense waiting. Carol returned as promised and stayed overnight. Reed called twice, reporting no progress in finding Vanessa. It was as if she had vanished. I tried to act normal for the children's sake, but it grew harder. Emma had withdrawn into herself, while Michael was clearly angry and confused. I didn't know how to help them cope with losing their father, especially under these circumstances. That evening, after the kids went to bed, Carol, my mom, and I sat whispering in the living room. "What if they don't find her?" I asked. "What if she just disappears and comes back later when everyone's forgotten?" "Not finding her is nearly impossible these days," Carol said. "With facial recognition, surveillance cameras, tracking credit cards and phones, if she uses any of it, they'll catch her." "And if she's smart enough to avoid all that?" I pressed. "She's already proven she can be very resourceful." "Then she'll have to hide for the rest of her life," Mom said. "She couldn't return without risking capture." It was a weak comfort, but better than none. The night passed quietly, and morning brought unexpected news, a call from my boss, Robert Stevens. "Elizabeth," he said in an official tone, "I'm calling to inform you that the company's security team has completed the investigation into the email incident. They confirmed that your account was hacked from outside." "So everyone knows it wasn't me who sent those photos?" I asked with relief. "Yes, that's clear now. In fact, the experts determined the photos were generated using artificial intelligence. Very high quality, but still fake." "Thank you, Robert," I said. "That means a lot to me." "When are you planning to return to work?" he asked. "We all understand you're going through a difficult time, but your position is waiting for you." I hadn't expected that kind of support, and for a moment I was speechless. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "It's hard to make any plans right now." "Of course I understand," Robert said. "Just know that we're on your side." After that call, I felt a faint ray of hope. At least my career hadn't been destroyed. One small piece of my life Vanessa hadn't managed to take from me. Around midday, Detective Reed called. "Mrs. Morgan, there's been progress," he said. "We tracked a car registered to Mary Baker. It was seen near your town last night." "Is she here?" My heart began to pound. "Possibly," Reed replied. "We've stepped up patrols around your mother's house and are checking all motels and hotels in the area. I just wanted you to be aware and to take precautions." "Thank you, Detective." After that call, the tension in the house ratcheted up. The kids stayed home and canceled all their plans. Carol contacted her office and took a few more days off to stay with me. The day dragged. I tried to distract myself by helping my mother with chores, talking with the children, checking work email. But my thoughts kept coming back to Vanessa. Where was she now? What was she planning? In the evening, while we were eating, my phone rang. The number was hidden. "Don't answer," Carol said. "It could be her." I nodded and let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a notification arrived about a new message. With trembling hands, I put the phone on speaker and listened. "Elizabeth," an unfamiliar female voice said, "I know the police are looking for me. But they won't find me. I found you, and your children, and your mother. You took everything from me. Now I'll take everything from you. It's only a matter of time." I dropped the phone as if it had burned my hand. "We need to call Reed," Carol said, picking it up. "Now." She dialed the detective and relayed the message. Reed promised to send experts to try to trace the call and to increase security at the house. "Maybe we should leave," my mother suggested. "Your aunt has a cottage in the mountains. No one could find us there." If we start running, we'll never stop, I said. The police are close to catching her. We have to hold on a little longer. The night passed without incident, though none of us really slept. In the morning, Detective Reed reported they couldn't trace the call. It had been made from a disposable phone. But there's good news, he added. Mary Baker's car was spotted near the Pine Grove Motel at the edge of town. We're sending a tactical team. This was the first concrete lead, and I felt a rush of hope. Maybe the nightmare would end soon. The hours crawled. I kept checking my phone, waiting for news from Reed. Carol tried to distract me with talk of the future, how I would rebuild my life after this. I appreciated her optimism, but couldn't share it. Too much had been destroyed. Finally, around 3 in the afternoon, Reed called. "Mrs. Morgan," he said, his voice tight, "we checked the motel. Vanessa wasn't there, but we found traces of her presence." "What do you mean?" I asked. "In the room, there was a board with photographs. You, your children, your mother, schedules, routes, notes. She's been watching you for weeks, maybe months. There were also plans for further actions." I felt the blood drain from my face. What kind of actions? "She planned to eliminate you and your children," Reed said quietly, "and stage it as a murder-suicide. Make it look like you, unable to bear the pressure, killed your children and then yourself." I gasped in horror. One thing was to suspect Vanessa was dangerous, another to learn she planned to kill my children. "Where is she now?" I asked, my voice shaking. "We don't know," Reed admitted, "but judging by her notes, she intended to act tonight. We're dispatching extra patrols and a tactical unit to your mother's house. I'm also coming there myself. Do not go out and do not let anyone in until we arrive." I hung up and, forcing myself to speak calmly, told Carol and my mother what he'd said. Their faces went pale. "We need a weapon," my mother said, standing up. "Your father had a gun." "It must be in his study." "Mom, no," I objected. "The police are on their way. They will protect us." "And if she arrives first?" my mother asked. "I won't let that madwoman hurt my grandchildren." She left the room, and Carol and I exchanged a look. "Maybe she's right," Carol said. "Better to have something to defend yourself with just in case." I nodded, though the thought that I might have to use a gun made me nauseous. Michael and Emma were in their rooms. I went to check on them, to make sure they were all right, and to tell them not to leave the house. I didn't want to frighten them, but they needed to understand how serious this was. I knocked on Michael's door. No answer. I opened it. The room was empty. Emma's room was empty too. "Kids," I called, panic tightening in my chest. "Michael! Emma!" I searched the whole house, but they were nowhere. Then I looked out the window. My mother's car had disappeared from the driveway. "Carol!" I screamed. "The kids are gone! And Mom's car!" Carol dashed to the hallway. Horror was written across her face. "They couldn't have just left," she said. "Not after everything we told them." My phone rang. The number was unknown. "Hello?" I answered, heart pounding. "Mom?" It was Emma's voice, trembling and scared. "Emma, where are you? What's happening?" "Gran said we needed to go somewhere safe. We drove to Aunt Jenny's, but then this woman stopped us on the road. She made us stop. She has a gun, Mom. She said she'll kill us if you don't come." My breath left me. "Oh, God," I whispered. "Emma, where are you?" "In some old house in the woods. I don't know exactly. She said you have to come alone. If you bring the police, she'll kill us all." "Put the woman on the phone," I demanded. There was a rustle, then a new voice, cold, controlled. "Hello, Elizabeth," it said. "Long time no see." "Vanessa," I breathed, "don't touch my children. They haven't done anything." "As have I," she answered. "But that didn't stop you when you ruined my life." Now it's my turn. What do you want? You, she said simply. Come to the old Foster sawmill. You know where it is? Yes, I said. The sawmill was an abandoned place a few miles out of town. Come alone, no police. You have 1 hour, or I'll start with your daughter. The line went dead. I turned to Carol. My face must have been as white as chalk. She's taken them hostage, I said. My kids and Mom. She's at the old Foster sawmill. I have to go. No, Carol said firmly. We call Reed. It's a trap, Liz. She wants to lure you out and kill you. And if I don't go, she'll kill my children, I screamed. I can't risk it. Think, Carol gripped my shoulders. If you go alone, she'll kill you all. That's her plan. The police are the only chance to save your family. I knew she was right, but the fear for the kids and my mother blinded everything else. We'll call Reed, I finally said, but I'm still going. I can't sit and wait while my family is in danger. Carol understood she couldn't stop me. Then I'm coming with you. She dialed Reed and explained everything. The detective was furious, not with us, but with himself. She's taken them, and now she demands Elizabeth come to an abandoned sawmill, he said. I know the place, Reed said. I'm heading there with a tactical team. But listen to me. Do not approach the sawmill. It's too dangerous. We'll be careful, Carol said, not precisely agreeing to stay away. She hung up and looked at me. Let's go, I said, already moving for the door. We've got less than an hour. The drive to the sawmill was long and winding. Carol drove. I sat beside her, rehearsing everything I knew about Vanessa from college. Habits, weaknesses, anything that might help. She was always intense, I told Carol. Too attached to people, too reactive to disappointment. But I never thought she was capable of this. 15 years is a long time, Carol observed. People change, especially if they already had mental health issues. I nodded, watching the trees blur by the window. We were getting close to the sawmill. Carol, I want you to stop here, I said when we were about a mile out. I'll walk the rest of the way. What? No, she cried. I won't let you go alone. Listen, I turned to her. Vanessa said I should come alone. If she sees you, she might hurt the children. I have to act like I'm following her rules. What if she just shoots you the moment you show up? Carol asked. I don't think that's what she wants, I replied. She wants me to suffer. She wants me to watch my children suffer. That's her revenge. Make me live through what she believes she lived through. Carol looked at me with worry. I don't like this, Liz. Neither do I admitted. But we have no choice. Please stop here. Reluctantly, Carol did as I asked. Before she stepped out of the car, I hugged her. If anything goes wrong, I said, look after my children. It'll be fine, she said, hugging me tightly back. Reed and his team are on their way. They know what they're doing. I nodded, but we both understood how dangerous the situation was. I got out and headed down the dirt track toward the sawmill. The old Foster sawmill had been abandoned for more than 10 years. The building was partly collapsed, the machinery rusted, and the whole complex had a haunted, spectral look, perfect for whatever Vanessa had planned. I approached cautiously, scanning my surroundings. There were no signs of police. Either they hadn't arrived yet or they were keeping their distance. I hoped Reed knew what he was doing. My mother's car stood by the main entrance. That confirmed Vanessa had brought my family here. I took a deep breath and went inside. The interior smelled of rot and rusted metal. I moved forward on quiet feet, doing my best not to make a sound. Vanessa, I called. I'm here, like you wanted. In here, a voice answered from the depths of the building. Slow, no sudden moves. I followed the voice and soon stepped into a large room that had once been a main workshop. In the center, tied to chairs, were my children and my mother. Their mouths were gagged with duct tape. Their eyes were wide with fear. Beside them stood a woman with a pistol, Vanessa Fisher. I barely recognized her. 15 years had changed her, thinner, harder. Her once pretty face was twisted with hatred and madness. But the eyes, the same dark, unnaturally bright eyes. "Hello, Elizabeth," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Long time no see." "Let them go, Vanessa," I said, stepping forward. "They haven't done anything to you." "Don't move," she shouted, training the gun on Emma. "One more step and I'll shoot your daughter in the knee." I froze, my hands raised. All right. I won't move. Let's just talk." "Talk?" Vanessa laughed. The sound echoed through the empty building. 15 years ago, you wouldn't talk. You took Daniel and ruined my life." "Daniel?" I was puzzled. "The college guy?" "Vanessa, I never dated him." "Liar," she screamed. "He was everything to me. We were supposed to be together, but you seduced him, you stole him, and he left me." I shook my head, stunned by how distorted her memories were. "Vanessa, that's not true. Daniel was never your boyfriend. He asked me out once. I refused because I knew how you felt. We were never together." "Shut up," she shouted, her hand shaking around the gun. "I know what happened. I saw you together. You laughed at me behind my back. I realized rational argument wouldn't work. Vanessa's reality was twisted by years of grievance and possibly by illness." "All right," I said calmly. "Let's say you're right. I'm guilty. But my children and my mother are innocent. Let them go, and we'll settle this between us." Vanessa studied me as if weighing the offer. "No," she finally said. "You must feel what I felt. The loss of everything you love. I already took your husband. Now the rest is next." "You were the one with George that night," I said. "You seduced him to destroy my marriage." Vanessa smiled, and that smile was perhaps the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. "It was so easy," she said. "He was so predictable. A few compliments, a couple of business meetings, and suddenly he was ready to betray his precious wife. Men are so weak. And you killed him," I said, trying to stall for time. "Where was the police?" "Of course. Why all this?" I asked. "Why Child Protective Services, the fake photos? Why not just kill me right away? And deprive myself of the pleasure of watching your life fall apart?" Vanessa shook her head. "No, Elizabeth. I wanted you to lose everything, your reputation, your job, your children. I wanted you to feel cornered and helpless, just like I felt when I was expelled from college because of you. You were expelled because you attacked me with scissors," I reminded her. "Because you ruined everything," Vanessa screamed. "But now it's my turn to ruin your life. And you know what? It was even easier than I thought. I planted the underwear in your car, just waiting for you to find it. And your little nettle trick? Inspired. I didn't expect that, but it worked to my advantage. Everyone saw the video. Everyone knew your husband was cheating. Motive for murder. Clear as day." She kept talking, enjoying her triumph. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught movement in the shadows behind her. Someone was creeping closer. The police? I had to keep her distracted. "And now what?" I asked. "You'll kill us all?" "First your children," she said, turning the gun toward Michael. "Then your mother. And finally you. But first, I want you to suffer as you watch them die." She raised the gun, aiming at my son. I screamed and lunged forward without thinking. At that exact moment, a figure leapt from the shadows and slammed into Vanessa. Detective Reed. They hit the floor, wrestling for the gun. A shot went off, blasting into the ceiling, showering us with dust and debris. "Elizabeth!" Reed shouted. "Get your family out, now!" I ran to my family and began untying the ropes. First I freed my mother, then together we untied the children. I tore the tape from their mouths and pulled them into a fierce hug. "Run to the exit," I told them. "The police should be outside." They ran, and I turned back to see Reed still struggling with Vanessa. She was stronger than she looked, fighting like a wild animal. Suddenly, another shot rang out. Reed cried out and collapsed, clutching his shoulder. Vanessa rose, panting, the gun still in her hand. She turned toward me, her eyes blazing with madness. "No one leaves here alive," she hissed, raising the weapon. I froze, staring down the barrel pointed straight at my face. My only thought was of my children. Had they made it out? Would I ever see them again? But before Vanessa could fire, there was a loud crack. She staggered and fell forward. Behind her stood Carol, gripping a heavy wooden plank. "Never turn your back on a lawyer," she said, dropping the board. I rushed to Reed, who was still clutching his wounded shoulder. "Are you all right?" "I'll live," he said through gritted teeth. "Your family?" They ran outside. They should be safe. "Good," Reed nodded. "And her?" He glanced toward Vanessa, sprawled unconscious on the ground. "Carol knocked her out," I said, looking at my friend with gratitude. "I called for backup and an ambulance," Carol said. "They should be here any minute." Sure enough, within moments we heard sirens. Police and medics stormed the building. Vanessa, still unconscious, was arrested, while Detective Reed and the rest of us were escorted out to waiting ambulances. Outside, I saw my children and my mother surrounded by officers. I rushed to them, gathering them into my arms, sobbing with relief. We were alive. It was over. The next few days passed in a haze. Vanessa was charged with murder, kidnapping, illegal possession of firearms, and a dozen other crimes. Detective Reed was recovering in the hospital, and my family. We were trying to piece together the fragments of our shattered lives. The first step was George's funeral. For all that had happened, he was still the father of my children and a part of my life for 12 years. The ceremony was small and quiet. Many friends and colleagues came to offer condolences, though I noticed the whispers and the sideways glances. Our family's tragedy had become a local sensation. After the funeral began the slow, painful process of healing. Michael withdrew into himself, angry and wounded. He had lost his father and nearly lost everyone else. Emma cried at night and was terrified to be left alone. I tried to be strong for them, but when no one was looking, I let myself break down and weep. Carol stayed by our side the entire time, supporting us and helping me navigate the legal aftermath. She became our family's hero, not only for saving me from Vanessa, but for her tireless strength in the days that followed. 3 weeks after the sawmill incident, Detective Reed came to our house. His arm was still in a sling, but otherwise he looked well. "How are you holding up?" he asked as we sat together in the living room. "Day by day," I answered. "It's still hard for the kids." "For me, too. But we're alive, and that's what matters." Reed nodded. "I came to update you about Vanessa," he said. "The psychiatric evaluation confirmed she suffers from severe mental illness, paranoid delusions, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. According to the doctors, she spent years building a revenge fantasy, convinced you were the source of all her misery." "And the case in Seattle?" I asked. "The one like mine?" "We confirmed her involvement," Reed said. "The victim was Karen Thompson, another former classmate of Vanessa's. Apparently, she blamed Karen for supporting your version of events back in college. Vanessa killed her husband, framed Karen, and when Karen took her own life, Vanessa moved on to her next target. You." I shuddered, thinking of a woman I had never met, whose fate could so easily have been mine. "Did she confess?" "Yes, and she's even proud of it," Reed said grimly. "In her twisted reality, you and Karen ruined her life. She believes she simply returned the favor. What will happen to her? Given her mental state, she'll likely spend the rest of her life in a secure psychiatric facility. She'll never hurt you again, Mrs. Morgan. That much I can promise." I nodded, feeling a strange emptiness. Vanessa would pay for her crimes, but that wouldn't bring George back, heal my children's wounds, or erase the nightmare of the past weeks. "Thank you, Detective," I said, "for everything you've done for my family." "I was just doing my job," he replied modestly. "But your friend Carol, she's the real hero." Without her, things might have ended very differently. I smiled, thinking of Carol. Yes, she's special. After Reed left, I sat in the living room, reflecting on everything that had happened. Life would never be the same. Too much had been lost, too much pain endured, but we were alive. We had a future. I picked up my phone and called Robert, my boss. "Elizabeth?" "How are you?" he asked with genuine concern. "I'm slowly getting back on my feet," I replied. "Robert, I wanted to ask, is your offer for me to return to work still open?" "Of course," he exclaimed. "We'll be ready for you whenever you're ready." "I think next Monday would be a good day to start," I said. "I need to move forward. For the kids. For myself." "Your place is waiting," Robert assured me. "We'll all be glad to have you back." After the call, I checked on the kids. Michael was at his computer, doing homework. He'd returned to school the week before. Emma was curled up in her room with a book. Ordinary, everyday things that now felt priceless. That evening, after the kids went to bed, I stepped into the backyard and looked up at the stars. The night was clear and peaceful, so different from the chaos we had survived. "We'll be okay," I thought, day by day, step by step. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message from Carol. "How are you?" "Better," I typed back. "Reed came by today. Told me about Vanessa. Want to talk?" I smiled at the screen. "Yes. Come for dinner tomorrow? The kids will be happy to see you, so will I." "I'll be there at 7, she replied. I put the phone away and looked at the stars again. Life went on. Despite the pain, despite the losses, despite the scars that would never fully fade, we kept living. 6 months later. The spring sun warmed my skin as I stood at George's grave, holding a bouquet of his favorite white lilies. The kids waited in the car. They still found it too painful to visit the cemetery. "Hi, George," I whispered. "It's a beautiful day." Michael got invited to a summer robotics program. He's so excited. And Emma, you'd be proud of her. She's grown stronger, helping other kids in a support group. She's so much like you. Stubborn, caring. I paused, gazing at the simple headstone. So much between us would remain unsaid. "I'm sorry it ended this way," I continued softly. "You didn't deserve that kind of death. No one does. I hope you found peace." I laid the flowers down and walked back to the car. Carol was at the wheel. The kids sat in the back seat. Vanessa's trial had taken place a month earlier. She was declared legally insane and committed to a maximum security psychiatric hospital. Reed said she would likely never leave. Still, at night, I sometimes woke from nightmares where she escaped and came for us again. I had returned to work. The kids were back in school. We sold the house we had shared with George and bought a new one closer to my mother. Step by step, we were building a new life. "Where to now?" Carol asked as I slid into the passenger seat. "Home," I answered with a smile. "Just home." She nodded and started the engine. We drove away from the cemetery, leaving the past behind us and heading toward an unknown but hopeful future.